I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. I want you to get up right now. Get up, go to your windows, open them, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. Things have got to change.
How many stations does this go out?
You've got to get mad.
67. I know it goes to Louisville and Atlanta.
I'm not going to take this anymore. Then we'll figure out what to do about the depression and the inflation and the oil crisis. But first, get up out of your chairs, open the window, stick your head out and yell, and say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Who are you talking to, Herb?
CGG, Atlanta.
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Herb?
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Ted?
But first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
They're yelling in Baton Rouge.
Get up, get up, get up out of your...
Son of a bitch! We struck the mother load!
Stick your head out of the window, open it, and stick your head out and keep yelling and yell, I'm as mad as hell, I'm not going to take this anymore. Just get up from your chairs right now. Go to the window.
Where are you going? I want to see if anybody's
Go
yelling.
to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell and keep yelling. I'm mad as hell! How am I going to take this anymore?
I'm mad as hell! I'm not gonna take it anymore! I'm mad as hell! I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell! I'm not going to take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell!
Hey Lucy, you mad as hell and you're not gonna take it anymore? Well, you know me, I rarely get angry, but when the other dogs try to take my tacos, I show them my teeth. And if that doesn't work, their ankles get ripped to shreds. So you had enough yet? Getting angry? If you are, post in the comments down below. I'm angry as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore. While you're at it, hit the thumbs up.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs.
In this video, I'm going to talk in pretty casual terms, like what normal people are used to hearing. So feel free to share this with everyone you can, make it go viral, because if we can make this go viral, we can end all these problems right now. And I'm going to start off just by playing a short video done by Larkin Rose. And he's the author of the book, The Most Dangerous Superstition. That is a book that if everyone in the world had on their Kindle or had the paperback, all the problems in the world would end almost overnight. And it's really thin and it's really easy to understand. I'll put the links to it down below as well. Give it out to your friends as a present. First read it, of course. Make sure you like it. I'm pretty sure most of you will. And then give it out. Make that your... We're going to talk about ways we can change the world today. Give it out to 5 or 10 of your friends. So anyway, he's written many books. He's a very prolific author. And one of them is How to Be a Tyrant. And it's essentially kind of like a mock book about how to actually be a tyrant. And he just put up a video on his channel, and I'll play the whole video here, just a few minutes. And this is just a short chapter from his book. See if any of this sounds familiar.
How to Be a Successful Tyrant. It's my first book. I finished writing it in 2005, and it came out in 2006, so I finished writing it 15 years ago. It's currently out of print. I'm working on getting the second edition back into print. Thought I'd give a dramatic reading of one little part of it. This is Chapter 2, Exploiting Fear. From the beginning, subheading, Fear as a Tool. Now, keep in mind, this is written as a manual for someone trying to be a tyrant. So when it says you, it's talking to somebody trying to be a tyrant. Almost all oppression via propaganda is based upon scaring people and then presenting a false choice where the people can choose either to do what you want them to do or face some unknown, often purely fictional horror. This is not the method of the common thug, which can be summarized as, do this or I will hurt you. A successful modern tyrant never presents himself as the thing to be afraid of, as doing so would obviously create resentment and hatred in the peasantry, and that leads to resistance. Every thing to be feared, or TTBF, with which you terrorize your peasants must be presented as some separate outside evil that only you can save them from. You must present the simple choice between obedience to you and the threat of some unpleasant happening, which does not appear to be of your doing and which you pretend to lament the existence of. In short, you must deceive and scare the citizens into voluntarily giving up their freedom. Quote, the people never give up their liberties but under some delusion. End quote, Edmund Burke. A simple example would be making up a plague of some sort, assuring people that millions are doomed to die, and then claiming that giving you a lot of money and control is the only hope of averting disaster. Or perhaps, instead of making up a disease, you can pick a real disease, grossly exaggerate the risk it poses to the peasants, whip them into a frenzy, and then present yourself as their only hope for salvation, which, of course, will require you to be given much wealth and power. Recent history gives many examples to build upon, such as AIDS, anthrax, mad cow disease, etc. Even the common flu can be used to spread alarm and panic in the peasantry.
Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? That's because they've been doing this for centuries now. A lot of people aren't aware of it, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because, and hang with me here, I know you haven't heard this before. You've been pretty much brainwashed by a criminal system now for a long time. And don't get all mad and go, I'm not brainwashed. First of all, that's the first thing a brainwashed person would say. But I'll explain it in really kind terms. Because it's not your fault. You were born, your parents believed all this stuff, which their parents believed. You were forced to go to government schools. And there you were given tons and tons of propaganda, very religious-like, especially with the Pledge of Allegiance, which used to be like this, by the way. They had to change it after World War II, but they still continue to do it. That's all forms of mind control, brainwashing, getting you to believe in the system, to actually think you're part of the system, when it's the furthest case from the truth. And you turn on the television programming, and it is called programming for a reason. It is literally programming your mind. It is mind control. Even the word government comes from a Latin word. Govern is gubernare, which means control, to control. Ment is mente, mind control. So don't turn this off yet. Go, oh, he's crazy. I'm not mind controlled. You probably are. Almost everyone in the world today is. But there's some very good news. So hang in here. I'll show you how you can turn this around and make not only your own life 1,000,000 times better, but the entire world better. So on the television programming for your entire life, they have things called news. Now, interestingly enough, Donald Trump kind of made the word fake news pretty popular. A lot of people who know about what's going on, like myself, have been using that term for a long time because it literally is not real. It is actors and scripts written by essentially people like the CIA. This is all proven.
Early morning, but the thing about Saddam Hussein is that he has never done the expected, and right now we have, once again been surprised with the unexpected, an air raid, an apparent attack, although we can't say what the outgoing missiles hit, at approximately 20 after 7 in the morning Saudi Arabian time.
The crowd, the white say.
My apologies for that.
He's putting on a gas mask. There hasn't been any gas dropped here that we could tell.
You smell anything?
No. You may smell some of the fumes from a missile exhaust going off. The missiles use a rocket, a cordite, some sort of burning. We just heard a little thump just then. But
I have to apologize for that. I caught a whiff of something and felt momentarily dizzy. You're more experienced in military. The top 10 things about Saudi Arabia. Maybe we could shorten the list to 5.
Oh, God. Geopolitics by Dan Quayle.
It's been known for decades that everything on the news is put out basically by the government and the CIA in every country in the world. So it might be the Mossad in Israel, MI6 in England. And not to blow your mind too much, but all those countries are all controlled by the same people. And as Larkin Rose was saying, they know because they've had a lot of practice. A lot of the stuff going on in the US and many parts of the world today all was a continuation of what was happening in Germany, where they wrote the book Propaganda, where people like Goebbels and all that talked about how to control the population, where even Adolf Hitler said, if you're going to tell a lie, make it a really big lie and repeat it all the time. These are all techniques of mind control. In fact, everything on television programming is literally done to put you into a state of trance. Even the hertz that it's done with, these are all patented. You can look at everything I'm saying, you can look up.
So what happens when you're an adult? When you're watching television, you're essentially staring at a blinking light, much like the mice in Christakis' experiment. If you've ever experienced a mind fog after watching television, you're not alone. The brain has 4 modes that it operates in, 4 brainwave patterns. Delta is when you're deep asleep, theta is when you're in light sleep, alpha is awake but relaxed. It's the mode of thinking that you are in when you're in the most heightened state of suggestibility. And then there's beta, the highest functioning mode, like when you're reading a book or you're having a very stimulating conversation. In 1969, Herbert Krugman did a study where he found that in less than 60 seconds, the human brain switched from beta brainwave patterns, those exhibited during logical thought, to alpha brainwave patterns. Alpha is not a bad brainwave pattern to be in, but when you're in that brainwave pattern a lot of the time, and if you look at the averages of how much people are watching television, this just leaves the mind unfocused and unable to concentrate.
Look up CIA control of the mainstream media. I think it was Operation Paperclip. I think that was the one. I keep forgetting there's so many operations that they do. Everything they do on the television is meant to put you into a state of trance and a lot of time into a state of fear. So that's why they have all the flashing things. You might notice I have no flashing things on the screen right now. If anything, I have my Chihuahua because I'm not trying to put you into a state of fear. But if you watch things like CNN or Fox News, they're all the same. They're all controlled by the same people. They will go, let's go to the situation room. What's going on? Blitz and blitz, all these lights and flash. You'll be like, terror alert. We're on stage 5 alert. Everyone hide in your houses. This has been going on for a long, 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 long time. But it keeps fooling people. And Mark Twain said it's easier to fool a man than to convince him he's been fooled. But hang with me here. If you can stay through to the end of the video, I'll easily help you to figure out what's going on, and you will feel so much better afterwards. If you're in fear right now, by the end of this video, you'll be laughing just like me. Because you'll know that what you thought was happening wasn't actually happening. You were actually put into a hypnotic trance and mind controls from a very young age. Just look at someone who's watching television. Next time you're watching television with your friends or your wife or your family, if you're allowed to be in the same room with them, while you're under martial law, while you're locked in your house right now, for your own safety, look at what they're doing. They'll probably be eating chips and they'll be watching it like this. That's because they're in a hypnotic trance. Even all the politicians use it. I used to know a hypnotist, and he said all his clients were politicians and preachers because they learn how to do these things. Even Donald Trump. You ever notice he's constantly going like this? Let's make America great again. That's a hypnotic trigger, and it puts you into a trance state. So you should be aware of this. And like I was saying, this is a plan they've done over and over and over and over again. There's many different words for it. One's called the Hegelian dialectic. And many of the people in these positions of power all know this stuff. They got taught this. Another way of saying it is order out of chaos. And what it really means is that they create a problem using all what they do, the government, the mainstream media, which is propaganda. And then they get people so panicked, they have a solution sitting there waiting for them. In many cases, like 9/11, which was an inside job done on purpose, they did it. Everyone went into shock and fear. On the TV, they put everyone into a trance. And they said, we have to go attack Iraq, which there wasn't even any evidence of Iraq being involved. There still to this day is none. There's plenty of evidence the US government and Mossad and the Israeli government and Saudi Arabia were all very involved. But Iraq, no. So with this one, they've decided to say there's a super dangerous virus. I don't know about you. Wherever I go, everyone seems fine. Lucy, you got coronavirus? I don't know. I don't care. I ain't scared. But they put on the mainstream media, hospitals are war zones. But when you look on the internet, hashtag film your hospital, there's been hundreds of people now, they all go to hospitals, they're empty.
Hang on, here we are, OU emergency, mobile ER, look at this, tons of tents lining the walkway, but how many people do you all see, seriously?
There's someone in, okay, two people in that first tent, but no one in the others.
But they look like they were just workers waiting.
Yeah.
In fact, all I've seen of a lot of medical people lately is them all on the internet doing little dances for TikTok and stuff.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Level up, 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 level up. All this on me so yummy, all this sauce so yummy. No, you want this yummy.
So I don't know about you, but if I was in a war zone and everyone's dying, it's just blood and mayhem and mucus and people are turning blue and I'm trying to resuscitate them all day. I don't know about you, but after 12 hours of doing that, I doubt I'd look all fresh and go outside and work with my cohorts on a synchronized dance step for TikTok. But you might say, what about all the numbers? The numbers keep going up. Well, the same people who put out those numbers are the people who control everything. And it's been proven now countless times. They've even said it. For example, in Italy, a lot of people said, look at Italy, everyone's dying. The news says it's a war zone. There's photos of nurses crying at their desk. It's now came out. It was on Bloomberg. It was on numerous mainstream things because they can't hide it for very long. That between 88 and 99% of people they said died because of COVID in Italy didn't. It wasn't even close. It was like people in car accidents, people who had heart attacks. They put them all down as COVID. And the reasoning was, well, if one person in the hospital had COVID, they assumed everyone had it, and that's why they're dying. And it's the same thing going on over and over. Even mainstream Dr. Fauci, or what's his name, Nigel Harris, I believe, from the Imperial London College, they were the two main people who convinced most of the world to lock down and go into martial law. Both of them have come out in the last few weeks and said, it looks like their computer models were wrong. It's not going to be millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions dead. It's going to be about the same amount every year from things like the flu. They both said it in their papers. I'll try to find both of them and put them on screen here. So then you might be asking, if that's the case and there really isn't something super dangerous that's going to kill a lot of people, why do they continue with these lockdowns? Why do they continue saying no one can leave their house? 3 billion people in the world, which is making the economy completely implode and will be worse, way worse than anything from the Great Depression already. And if this continues for even weeks or months, you won't believe how bad. There's going to be food shortages from supply chain breakdowns. Everything's going to go to basically zero. Your pensions are going to be gone. The stock market's going to be almost worthless, except for they're hyperinflating the dollar, which I'll get to in a little bit. So you might be asking, why would they be doing this? Well, Dan Dix of Press for Truth just put out a great video.
Well, I have a feeling that they'll use the age-old tactic of, order out of chaos or problem, reaction, solution. It could be a health pandemic. It could be an economic crash. They need something to get Canadians into this fear state.
And he basically, just like Larkin, predicted this was going to all happen because it's very obvious. They do it every 10 or 20 years. Whether it's World War I, World War II, Vietnam, the Ebola, SARS, swine flu, bird flu, AIDS, AIDS, they said, was going to kill a third of the world's population within 3 years, back in the 80s, by the way. Oprah Winfrey said that. Doesn't seem too bad, does it? Should we all lock ourselves in our house? So you're saying, why are they doing this? Well, Dan Dix did this great video. I'll play pretty much the whole thing because it's really good. And he kind of says what he thought they were going to do next. So I'll play that now.
Well, I have a feeling that they'll use the age-old tactic of, order out of chaos or problem, reaction, solution. It could be a health pandemic. It could be an economic crash. They need something to get Canadians into this fear state.
The best possible outcome is no easy path for any of us. The initial peak, the top of the curve, may be in late spring, with the end of the first wave in the summer. As Dr. Tam explained, there will likely be smaller outbreaks for a number of months after that. This will be the new normal until a vaccine is developed.
Good morning. Here's the news. Civil Defense Headquarters announced today that the sharp increase in the number of cases of illness during the last few days had led authorities to suspect that a biological warfare attack may have taken place. As yet, the cause of this outbreak has not been identified. Civil Defense health authorities recommend that you should take the following precautions.
If such an announcement is made in your city, don't give way to fear. Just remember that scientists would already be working to control the outbreak.
Even after we're through this first wave, we will need to remain vigilant and we will need to bring in different measures. Normality, as it was before, will not come back full on until we get a vaccine for this, and as you say, that could be a very long way off.
The world is now at the start of the 2009 influenza pandemic. The virus is spreading under a close and careful watch.
Drug makers have started work on a vaccine which they say could be ready within months.
This really may be a worldwide situation. Cases here, containment here, trying to move rapidly.
Husbands will be returned to their wives. Mothers will be returned to their children. Join us in this great work. Rally to the fight against tuberculosis, the common enemy of mankind.
A few drops of vaccine injected under the skin of the arm will give them dependable and lasting immunity.
Part of getting through this wave in a rapid way will be because we are developing the tools that will also help us when those wavelets come forward in the coming years, in the coming months.
It makes me think back to 1976, the first year I served in the Congress. We had a vote on the swine flu. Back then, there was a panic, and they said it was going to sweep the nation, and they rapidly came up with some flu shots, and the government was going to inoculate everybody and save the world from this disaster.
I'm the healthiest 55-year-old you ever seen. Hey, I play golf every weekend.
Get a shot of protection, the swine flu shot.
The flu came, and the flu went, and one person died, except for those individuals who died from getting the flu vaccine. And over 25 people died just from getting the vaccine, and many got ill from it, until finally they had to suspend the whole program.
This will be the new normal until a vaccine is developed.
We had about 13,000 cases of tuberculosis. Now that's a serious disease. And also, the last time they recorded the number of deaths in this country was in 2006, and there were 644 deaths from tuberculosis.
Laura, some students here in Prince George's County schools have missed up to a month and a half of school because they have not gotten their vaccinations for chicken pox and hepatitis B. Now the school system says it's time to get tough and take those parents to court.
We need those students immunized. We need them in schools. We need them safe.
This Saturday, more than 1,600 students and their parents have been ordered to appear in circuit court for the children to be immunized. Health workers will be on hand to give the shots immediately.
We can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way.
This will be the new normal until a vaccine is developed.
This strain of swine influenza that's been cultured in the laboratory is something that's not been seen anywhere actually in the United States and the world. So this is actually a new strain of influenza that's been identified.
If there are going to be multiple waves of this, if we aren't going to be able to sort of get out of this until we find a vaccine, which we're told is 12 to 18 months away at best, do you envision that we're going to have multiple waves of shutdowns, lockdowns, closures of the economy? And how can we handle those kinds of constant shutdowns?
I think even after we're through this first wave, we will need to remain vigilant and we will need to bring in different measures. Normality, as it was before, will not come back full on until we get a vaccine for this. And as you say, that could be a very long way off.
So all I'm asking people to do is step back and think for a minute rather than rushing and panicking and taking advantage of opportunities like this. This is what happens, whether they're economic problems or medical problems. The people who love big government take advantage of this.
It could be a health pandemic. It could be an economic crash.
This will be the new normal until a vaccine is developed.
Dan was pretty chubby like 10 years ago. I didn't realize that. But anyway, this is what they do over and over and over again. And they're doing it right now. And it's really up to people to wake up and spread this information. And if we can do that, we can change the world dramatically overnight, because they need a lot of people to believe them in order for them to continue to do what they're doing. So the more that people just say, I don't believe it, and don't listen to their rules and regulations, the more that this whole thing falls apart. And they're going to have to back off very quickly, just like the other dogs do when they try to steal Lucy's tacos. She shows them her teeth, and they back off. And it could be just little things like not listening to their lockdown restrictions. And you might be saying, but maybe there is a super dangerous virus that's going to kill a lot of people. That'd be very, very bad of me to go outside. I might get it and spread it to someone else. Well, like I just said, they already have said the numbers are basically the same as a regular flu. So if you're scared of the flu, do you think the whole world should be locked down from the flu? I think most people would say no. Then don't be scared of this one. And here's a second sort of a bit more spiritual way of looking at things. The main reason they get away with a lot of this stuff is because a lot of people are very, very, very lost. They've told people for a long time now that they came from a big explosion. Science proved this, called the Big Bang. And all this stuff was whizzing around. And it all came together, turned into like a beautiful world. It's pretty amazing. Like, what kind of chance of that? What are the odds? 1 in put every atom in the universe together as a 0, and it's still not possible. Then they said, oh, we all came from rats and monkeys, which there's 0 proof for. You just have to look into it. Then they put you into the indoctrination camps. On the television programming, they're always putting in little things. They're basically always saying that you're not special, you're not good enough to do anything unless you do all the things we say. Unless you go to our schools for 10 years, then you can do something. They've been basically lying to everyone in the world for a long time that they have no power, and that they should give all their power over to things like the government, who will take care of you. That is 100% a lie. And you can find out if that's a lie by just stop listening to them, stop obeying them, stop when they try to extort you. I don't know if you've noticed half the money every year you make gets stolen from you. A lot of people don't even think about it. That's because of the brainwashing, the mind control, and the schools and the media all telling you it's a good thing. You're a good citizen if you do that. Stop paying their extortion fees, because that's what it is. Taxation is theft. Taxation is extortion. It's a criminal entity, no different than a mafia, except for far worse and way more powerful. There's a saying, I think there's even a bumper sticker for it. The only difference between the mafia and government is size. Take back your own power, stop listening to them. So for example, get out of your house, even if they say you're not allowed to. And if a guy with a blue costume comes up, like it's Halloween, he's got a shiny little badge, which is supposed to... Sorry, I got some dogs here. Oh, poke. Yeah. I got lots of people here. Lucy, Ben, Lucy. As you can see, Mexico is pretty relaxed. Yeah, dogs. Pedos. Yep. So when the guy with the costume comes up, and he's got a shiny badge on and he's got a gun, he's like, hey you, what are you doing? Just ignore him. Act like he doesn't even exist. Just keep walking. And if he eventually gets to the point where he starts freaking out because you might not be under mind control, and maybe even starts to get a bit violent, at that point you might want to stop so you don't get killed. And he'll go, you're not allowed outside. I would say to him, hey, do not come within 2 meters of me, you sicko. I don't want you getting me sick. And he'll be like, well, I'm just trying to make you safe. And then he'll go, well, you know, I'm going to have to extort you for $500 because you're not supposed to be outside. Just start walking again. And if he even hands you, well, first of all, he's going to ask for your name. Just ignore him. See, the things that make me kind of sad and sick is seeing all these big guys. They'll be at a park playing football, and the cops will come over to give them tickets, and they'll be like, yes, sir. And the guys will say, what's your name? And they'll tell them their name. Yes, sir. No, these guys are criminals. And if you're a bunch of big guys, start moving in on them a bit. See what happens. He'll back off. It's all using fear. And if he managed to somehow give you some sort of a piece of paper that magically says that you owe him $500, crumple it up and throw it in the garbage can and keep walking. If enough people do that, it's over. Just start getting back to work. If you've got, you know, this is where it's important to know your community, know your neighbors. Get them to understand this info. Lucy Ben? And say, hey, we're all going to open up our businesses. And if the cops come, we're all going to bring out our guns and just tell them to get lost. Watch how quickly they get lost. It's mostly just magic what they use. And it's only because so many people allow them to. And be very careful as well whenever they say something like, you're not allowed to be outside, do you understand? That's actually a magic trick. What it means is, do you stand under me? When you say yes, and don't never say yes, if you say yes, you have just agreed, you've just made a contract, a verbal contract, that you stand under him. He owns you. So whenever they say, do you understand? Say no. And I always go like this, I go, if I even talk to them, I usually just sort of walk away. They go, hey, stop, do you understand? And if they get my face, I go, no, do you understand? And half the time they just walk away. Not saying it works all the time, but my point being, if you want this over, it can happen overnight. Start up a hashtag. I just try to think of one off the top of my head. No more lockdown or something. And post like videos like this with the hashtag. and tell your friends about it. Try to get everyone posting it. And just starting this conversation with people. And before you know it, a lot of people will wake up, and then they'll have to back off. And what they'll do, if they start to recognize that a lot of people are not only angry, but not listening to them anymore, in order to save face or to still keep a shred of credibility that they have some sort of authority over people, which they don't. No human has authority over you. No one. You have authority over yourself, and that's it. And once they see enough people doing that, they'll start rolling back the numbers. Look at the mainstream media, the calls will be made. Okay, start to say it's going away. They'll roll back the numbers, they control all the numbers. All of a sudden, a lot of people will be just dying of normal things again, from the flu or pneumonia, just like every year. 2 million people die every year from pneumonia. Now hardly anyone is, because they say it's COVID this time. So they'll roll it all back quite a bit. And they'll get back together and they'll be like, okay, we've got to come up with a new plan. It's not working. And they'll try other stuff. But just never listen to them. No matter what happens, stay strong. For all the men out there, that's what we need to do. We need to be strong. No matter what they do to us, we do not back down. We stand up to anyone trying to infringe against our freedom. And anyone else that we know or people in our community. If there was any cops around here, and there never is because we kill cops down here. That's why I live here. But if there was, and he was harassing someone right now, you'd get to watch live what I do to this guy. And Lucy. His ankles would be torn to shreds. Then my wife would come out, she'd make a few phone calls, and the guy'd be floating in the ocean tomorrow. Now, you don't have to get that far, but it wouldn't be a bad idea. They would back off very quickly if a few people did that. But there is risk involved. But as men, we have to accept the risk in order to do what's right. In the meantime, though, just being aware of this information makes your life so much better. So while a lot of people, not so much in Mexico, but in places like the US, are locked up in their houses, not doing anything, scared, if you understand this information, you have nothing to fear. Especially if you really understand who you are and what life is. You are not your mind. You are not your body. In Christianity or in Catholicism and things like that, they actually have a word for it. Everything's kind of hidden. It's called the Holy Trilogy. Or is it trilogy? Holy Trinity. I'm thinking like Lord of the Rings or something. Holy Trinity. So it's your mind, body, and soul. And you are actually your soul. You're just inhabiting the body and mind for this period of time. And the mind, actually, in many ways, is more your enemy than your friend, because it will constantly find problems for you, constantly be in fear. But once you realize that's not the case, there is actually nothing to fear. So you can live incredibly well in these times. I'm living great. Nothing's changed in my life. Driving down the roads, it's like that Will Smith movie where he's like the last person on earth. There's like no traffic. I go to a place, it's closed, but I go in the back door and they're like, hey Jeff, what do you need? So when you have this knowledge, knowledge is power. Truth is freedom. When you know the truth, nothing is all that bad. So even for your own personal perspective, if you can just understand that this is all lies and propaganda, and you understand why they're doing it, then you don't have to fall for it at all anymore. And you can even make lots of money in the black market. They call the black market the free market. They call it the black market. That's another thing they do. They try to make everything that isn't controlled by the government look bad. It's also why the word anarchy, a lot of people think it's a very dangerous word. All it means is an without archy ruler. No human ruler. No one on earth owns you. If you have a ruler, you are a slave. This is very basic stuff, but they'll never teach you that in the schools. But you can actually be having a great time right now making a fortune in the free market, which they call the black market, is taking off like crazy right now because a lot of people can't get a lot of stuff they want. Well, the beauty of the market is there's almost always someone who will be willing to take some sort of risk. Oh, it's so dangerous here. To get you a product if you're going to pay them a certain amount of money. And most of the products in the black market are actually done with something called Monero, which is XMR, which if you don't know about it and you have any assets, you should be looking into it ASAP. But here's some of the items that are on many of what they call the dark webs. Lots of the masks that people want, even though you don't need them, but people want them, so give people what they want, right? There's tons of 3D printed gun stuff out there. So if you live in a place, I've heard this from a few people. They're like, I live in a country where they don't allow me to have guns. My first response is, who cares what they allow? Get into the black market. But if you can't even do that or won't do that or can't find anything, get a 3D printer. You can print up your own guns. Now I should say, I really recommend that you follow all the laws of the government of the country in which you live. So don't do that. Do not print 3D guns. Do not engage in the free market. Okay? Just want to make that very clear. Very clear, okay? If I ever heard of anyone breaking a government law, I would be so sad. Government. So, yeah, you can make a ton of money right now. We're writing all this stuff up right now. This is what the Dollar Vigilante is for. And the biggest beneficiary of all this inflation that's coming, and this is going to be the next big thing. They're going to roll back this pandemic very soon, I think. Especially if you share this video. Especially if you start spreading the hashtag end the lockdown. Especially if you just go outside of your house and show your neighbors. It's like, it's okay. And when the cops come, treat them like crap. And your neighbors will see that. And they'll start doing it. Like, this will be over very quickly. But then comes the next big thing. Hyperinflation. This is the next big thing. They've already printed up nearly $10 trillion in US Federal Reserve notes. You know those little pieces of paper? The dirty pieces of paper that you have in your wallet? They have like a pyramid with an all-seeing eye on it. And if you draw a pentagram on it, it says Mason. Yeah, that money, they just printed up 10 times more than is in all of existence in the last couple of weeks. That, if you know anything about how money works, means hyperinflation will be coming very, very soon. It'll probably have to wait until after this pandemic's over because no one's doing anything right now. So no one's buying gas, no one's taking flights, no one's going to restaurants. So we're not going to see the hyperinflation just yet, but as soon as things start back up very quickly, let's just put it this way. They're saying it'll be about 5 months now until you get your $1,200 little freebie check from the government. By the time you get it, it probably won't be worth anything. And that's by design, by the way. They do it all on purpose. So with all this inflation, there's going to be huge beneficiaries of it. And we're writing about all of them in the Dollar Vigilante. In fact, the next issue goes out tomorrow, and I'm going to put a ton of info on how you can really take advantage of this situation. You'll be able to buy up almost anything for nothing soon. And the biggest things will be precious metals, which are super hard to find. They say on the COMEX or on the stock market that silver is priced at $15 an ounce right now. That has no bearing on reality. I was just on Mike Maloney's site. You can go to dollarvigilante.com/gold-silver. And I was trying to buy more silver. I've been buying almost every day. It's now $27 for a 1 ounce American Eagle silver coin. Almost double the price they say it is on COMEX. And that's going to go way higher. So I would still buy at those levels. I am buying at those levels. Although I buy the bars, you get a lot better price on the bars. It also will take a month or two for them to get it to you. There's hardly anything available. But the other huge thing that could make absolute fortunes right now is cryptocurrencies. With all this inflation, I'll play this little cartoon. This basically explains in a cartoon how it works. That's basically what we're going to be doing for the next few years. Making fortunes while everyone else who does not realize what's going on, they stay in their banks, their money's going to be worthless, the banks are going to be closing, the stock market's going to be just a mess, they're going to lose most of their mutual funds, any ETF will be gone, and that includes gold and silver ETFs, by the way. Meanwhile, things like Bitcoin and Monero will go up exponentially in the next few years, and a few other coins. And that's what we feature at the Crypto Vigilante, is a few other coins as well. We've done incredibly well on some recently. And I expect that to go unbelievably well. So we just opened up, it's open till the end of this week, the Crypto Vigilante again. So this is one of your last chances to get in. I've been warning about this for a couple of years. A lot of people are already making tons of money from our advice, but it's not too late. This is actually just starting still. So just go to dollarvigilante.com/TCV, and we might shut it down at any moment. So go, if you can afford it, go as quickly as possible. And then you will be getting all kinds of amazing information over the next few days, weeks, months, and years, which will be so unbelievable to your average person. Your average person will be so wiped out. But if you do the right things, you will be in an amazing position. And some of those right things too is just being incredibly smart about where you live. I wouldn't want to be living in a major city right now. In fact, most of our TDV guys who were, all are moved out to the bush now. So I'm okay because I'm here in Mexico, and there isn't much government, and we know all the right people around here, so we're all good. But we've got all that info in the newsletter as well. When you subscribe for Crypto Vigilante, you also get Dollar Vigilante, which means you get access to all our groups worldwide. So if they roll this back a little bit, and hopefully they do, if you share this video and use that hashtag, end the lockdown, is that what I said? This could be rolled back fairly quickly, and then you're going to have a little bit of time before the hyperinflation to prepare yourself, maybe move out of the US, move somewhere else, that sort of stuff. We've got all that info for you. Tons of books. Could even put some of them on screen. Just the Crypto Vigilante books, there's numerous of them. I'll put a few of them up on screen here as I'm talking. You get access to all those as soon as you subscribe. So go to dollarvigilante.com/TCV. And I'll leave it there. What do you think, Lucy?
That was a fun walk today. Yeah, had a lot of fun. And yeah, people got to realize it's no big deal once you understand what's going on. You just got to make sure you got lots of tacos and Bitcoin and XMR and give lots of kisses. And let's go see our friends. There's Lara and there's Bruce. Muy bien, that's Bruce. Muy bien, Lara. That's my girl. Muy bien, Bruce.
Wait, this video just scratched the surface. The attacks from big government and central banks are just starting. To survive today's economic chaos, you need to understand topics ranging from Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to the latest misinformation from the Federal Reserve, what the central banks are up to, and how big government is encroaching on your life. Subscribe to this channel now, and don't forget to click the bell beside the subscribe button to make sure you never miss a single video. Take responsibility for your own future and make your personal world a better place. Share this video with your friends and subscribe now. We're all in this together.